Hey, what is up, sheepdogs? Ryan here with Carey University. I am excited that you guys are joining me on another live stream. What's up, Randall? Make sure you guys let me know once you get on here. Tell me your name. Tell me if you currently carry a gun, and do you carry the gun 100% of the time you are legally allowed to? Oh, what's up, Cobb? I don't know if you guys heard. I just saw that today was the debates in Congress about the universal background check bill. This is bad. So it's 3 hours long. I'm gonna watch it after this. But so I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's gonna pass? I think we all think it's gonna pass. So Steve-O says, good evening. Got a Hellcat. Awesome. I really like the Hellcat. I'm curious about the newer Hellcat. How that is going to really reduce the recoil. Joe McCain, what's up? Jason carries 100% of the time. Awesome. That's great. Good. I'm shocked at how many people get a permit, but then they never carry their gun. It's truly crazy. What's up, 80 from Orlando? What's up? And Lasemia, hopefully I said that right, carries all the time. Good. Craig, Armed and Ready group. Awesome. If you guys are looking to get a concealed carry permit in Orlando, Craig can definitely hook you up. Kathy, what is up? All right, guys. So if you have not subscribed to the Carey University YouTube channel yet, go check it out. We've got a lot of really great stuff on there. And if you guys have any questions tonight, you can always ask them in the chat. Sometimes the chats get a little bit too fast and I can't always catch something. So you can always submit your question at careyuniversitylive.com. We also, if you guys want to get notified via email when we do these live streams, you can check that out. I know YouTube and Facebook is sometimes a little bit weird. They don't want to always notify people, which is very strange. I'm proud of you, Ryan, asking the guy in Bunker Depot if he was carrying. Yeah, you know, I do that a lot, Cobb, and you should do it too with your students, because I see my students out at restaurants and out in public and stuff, and I always ask them, do you have your gun right now? And, you know, most of the time they say no. So I ask them why, and they always give me some BS excuse. Oh, I'm wearing sweatpants today, or oh, I was just coming to Home Depot real quick. Like, literally, when I walk across the street, I have a gun on me. Because we just never know. We never know when bad stuff is going to happen. We just want to be ready, right? Okay, Drew says, can't carry in a company vehicle while working. Yeah, that sucks, man. So not much you can do there. You know, I don't want you to lose your job, but we want to make sure that you're safe. And if you can utilize other devices like a chemical spray or something like that, I think that's always cool. Somebody said that from California. Robert, what's up? I grew up in Huntington Beach. My sister lives in San Diego, and she said, are you going to move back to the West Coast? And I was like, no, never going to happen. Okay, so somebody says, Ryan, where do you wear your concealed carry firearm, hip or appendix? So I prefer appendix. I have a back issue. So for me, leaning up against the gun, I've done it a few times, and it's not that big of a deal. But I just don't really like it at the 4 o'clock position. I prefer the appendix. So yeah, check that out. Yeah, Drew, so he carries a 4-inch pocket knife. So that's good. I think that's awesome. Great. All right, so let's jump into some questions. Question number 1 comes from Long. It says, is it okay to carry my gun when I ride my bike in Florida? So Long, great question. I assume you're talking about riding a motorcycle. And yes, if you're riding a motorcycle, you're allowed to conceal carry that firearm. The big thing, I was on I-275 coming back from a class a couple years ago, and there was a guy in a crotch rocket, and he was just flying. He had a pistol at the 4 o'clock position, and his shirt was blowing up like crazy. Now, for me, a gun person, I just laugh. I tried to speed up so I can videotape it, but it doesn't mean anything to me, right? Like, I would never be scared of that guy. But other people might get scared. They might call the police, and we just don't know what they're going to say, right? So they may call and say, there's this crazy guy on a motorcycle who's threatening us with a gun. And really what it turns out to be is just you driving and somebody sees it. So just use a lot of caution. Try to keep it hidden as much as you can. Okay, Robert says he's in Huntington Beach. That's awesome. So I grew up right on Beach and Talbert, if you know where that's at. Beach and Talbert. But moving to Armand Beach May 1st. Awesome. Yeah, it was beautiful when I was there when I was a kid. But, okay, Robert says, will you ever have in-person classes again or just online? Yeah, Robert, I will never do in-person classes again for a lot of reasons. The in-person classes take up a lot of time. I'm saying the exact same information that I've already said 10,000 times before. And frankly, people get more value out of the online training because you're able to watch a section multiple times to really make sure you understand the concept. When it's in an in-person class, sometimes like I have to really move to get everything done in the allotted amount of time. So yeah, just think about it. Our online class is dope though, so you'll like it. All right, so says, what about if somebody is trying to steal and or harm, kill my pets? So I assume I assume it's a woman, I don't know. I assume she is basically saying, can you use or threaten the use of deadly force to protect an animal? Based on my understanding, I think the answer is no. However, I can tell you, when we lived in Oregon, there was a dog that was like a half wolf, half husky kind of dog that one of the neighbors had. It was like destroying my lab, had it by the neck. And like my dad was hitting this dog and punching it. Just nothing would stop this dog. So finally I was like 11 years old and my dad said, run in the house, get the 30-06, make sure it's loaded. So I ran in, loaded it, and then the rest is history. For me, if an animal is trying to hurt one of my dogs, I'm probably going to shoot it, just to be very honest. Is it legal? Probably not. And am I going to go to court? Probably. If a person is trying to hurt my dog or animal, I don't know. I think it's hard. I think it's one of those high emotion moments where you're probably going to overreact. And honestly, I'd love to tell you that I would say, no, I wouldn't do anything. But I love my dog, Luna. She's a schnauzer. And I love her, and honestly, I would do a lot to protect her. So hopefully that answers your question. Robert says, when I get out of this anti-American state, I'll be carrying after taking your course. Love the book. Awesome, Robert. Yeah, you know, my cousin, he lives in San Diego, and he tried to get his carry permit, and it was a real disaster because the sheriff said he doesn't need one, and he's a repo man. If a repo man doesn't need a gun, then who the hell does? Okay, so Cobb says, had to do the same thing with the dog. Yeah, you know, when it's an animal, especially like a dog, I had a horse, Redford, when I was a kid, like you really fall in love with those animals, right? And it's hard to not defend them. So I don't know. Okay, Drew says, have you seen SB 1580? I've seen a lot of stuff, but I don't know all of the numbers off the top of my head. So let me just type it in real quick. I assume this is it an Illinois bill? I should probably ask that before I go into this too much. Waits to instill 8 hours of classes to renew the concealed carry permit. Yeah, so you're talking about the Florida bill. That lady is crazy. 8-hour-long concealed carry class to get your permit in Florida. She just wants a lot of lunatic, crazy stuff. What's hilarious is if we look at Chicago, right? Chicago, Illinois has a mandatory 16-hour-long concealed carry class, 16 hours. But yet they lead the nation or are very close to leading the nation every year in gun violence. And all they do is talk about how violent and dangerous it is there. If having a really long class, 16 hours, was a solution, why the hell is it not working? It's because we are not the problem. Law-abiding gun owners are not the problem. It's drugs, it's poverty, and it's people that are in a bad situation that are doing things that focusing on the gun is not going to fix the problem that exists. Okay, so have you heard about Brandon? Last name AK-50. He's been building. Yep, I've followed him and heard about it. I think it's dumb. I think it's a cool project to see if you can get it to work. I don't think he'll sell many. I think it's going to have so much recoil. It's not even damn funny. So I don't think it'll be fun to shoot. I think it'll hurt a lot. And I don't think he'll make a lot of money if he does get it to work, personally. Is it okay to carry a gun when I ride my bike in Florida? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we just talked about this already. So yeah, you're allowed to carry your gun. There you go. We talked about it right at the beginning of the live stream. So scroll back and you should see it. All right, so question number 3. My wife and I attended your concealed carry course, or attended a concealed carry course in North Carolina. Then we moved to Florida before blah, blah, blah. Do we still need to take the same course in Florida before we can apply for our Florida concealed carry permit? Frankly, it depends on who you get at the state of Florida. What the state law says is that you have to take a firearm safety course taught by an NRA certified instructor. So as long as the class you took in North Carolina is from an NRA certified instructor, it should be okay. However, I've had several times people just like you, they provided their certificate of completion from an instructor in another state, and then the representative at the Department of Agriculture told them they had to take a Florida class. So that is not accurate. Nowhere in the law does it say it, but you're dealing with the government, and they don't always know what they're talking about. So you can always submit it and just kind of wait and see if you get a letter back. That may be the smartest thing for you. If you want to take the Florida class and really get a good in-depth knowledge of Florida gun law, you can click that link down in the description, carryuniversity.com. We've got instructors all across the state that can hook you up, do the live fire portion, and really make sure you've got the right mindset. You guys are going to see the last question for tonight. The last question is a very terrible mindset that this person has. It was a very aggressive comment. I had to delete some of it off of YouTube. Very aggressive, rude comment, but this is the type of person that's going to end up in prison using a firearm in an inappropriate way. So that's going to be the last question tonight. Let's see. What about the Lady Gaga situation? That the dog walker got shot. What can be done? Okay, so that is a good question. If the bad guy has the gun, then we are allowed in Florida to use or threaten the use of deadly force. But it wasn't about, that's not about protecting the dog. That was about protecting the dog walker's life. Does that make sense? So the use of a gun wouldn't be to protect the animal because, again, it's just an animal. It's to protect the dog walker. Okay, with all the guns stolen during the riots, how would you protect yourself from someone stealing one on a private party sale? That is a great question, Robert. One of my buddies a long time ago, when I worked at Culligan Water, one of my buddies decided that he was going to go buy a gun. So he went on to Florida Gun Trader, which is like Craigslist for guns, right? He found, it was a SIG, I think it was like a 229 or a 226, but it was like a steal of a deal. It was an amazing price. And you gotta know when somebody's selling something really cheap, there's a reason. So he said, I'll take it. It was like $500. He was meeting at a Walmart, in a Walmart parking lot. And when he got there, he texted and said, hey man, I don't see, like a red Civic. Where are you? And the person said, I'm in the back of the building. I didn't want anybody to see us making the transaction. So my buddy, not thinking, he drives back there. And when he parks, 4 men get out of this vehicle holding baseball bats and all that stuff. They walk up to him and said, give us the money. So they took the money and then they just drove away. So if you're buying or selling a used gun and you're doing it privately, you need to meet in a public area and you need to just gauge the situation and make sure your situational awareness is really on point. I had one time I met this guy at the mall to sell him a gun. And as soon as he started walking up to me, I just said, hey bro, I'm not interested in doing this because I just had a weird vibe with him. But I've had other people that, we're friendly. We talk about guns. We chit chat for a bit and then we shake hands and leave. So just be cautious, maybe bring a buddy and just use that situational awareness so that you're safe, right? Because even if you're selling, they know you have a gun. You don't know who you're dealing with, right? So it's always a little bit sketchy. Okay, Cobb says I meet at the gun store or sheriff's department. Yeah, just, again, use caution, because if you're at a gun store, you don't want to piss off the owner of the store for doing a transaction in the building. And we also don't want to scare the sheriff or law enforcement when they see you doing a transaction in their parking lot. So just use caution. But I think that's always smart to be in a public lit area. All right, so Long says, Ryan, what if they take your firearm and your fake jewelry? So this was a video, I don't remember what the video was called, but a guy drove like 2 or 3 hours to come to my concealed carry class. And when I asked him why he wanted to carry a gun, he said over the weekend, he was hanging out at the pool of his apartment complex. He had a chain on, he had a bottle of liquor, and some guy walked up, like intimidated him, ripped the necklace off, and then took the bottle of liquor. So he said, I want a carry permit so that if that happens again, I can shoot that person. And I said, bro, you can't shoot that person just because you suck at fighting. Like, you've got to be able to defend your own necklace, your own bottle of liquor, but you can't kill somebody over that. So his question is, what if they try to take your gun and your fake jewelry? Listen, no one is going to take, if somebody is fighting me and reaching for my gun, in my personal opinion, now it is turning into a deadly force situation, right? So if you're already attacking me unlawfully and now you're trying to get access to a deadly weapon, I would never allow some bad guy to get access to a deadly weapon, because obviously that's when the really bad stuff is going to happen. So yeah, just use a lot of caution. It's, we don't want, I had this guy in the concealed carry class the other day that I asked him why he wanted to carry, and he said, because of all my jewelry. And I was like, okay. I said, how much is yours? So he had a really nice, like, gold bracelet on. And he said, I said, how much is that worth, man? And he said, it's $13,000. I was like, okay, if it is worth $13,000, you probably shouldn't tell people in a rough neighborhood that. But I said, even if it is worth 13 grand, if somebody comes up and tries to take it and you shoot them, how much is that going to cost you in that criminal case? How much money are you going to spend during the civil trial? How much time off of work are you going to have because you're stressed and you're overwhelmed? Is it worth 13 grand? In my opinion, you're probably going to drop 100 grand easy with years of stress. Is that worth $13,000? In my opinion, the answer is no. Now, I think that's very easy to say, very hard to do in real life, but shooting somebody, it's not worth that necklace. Frankly, if you're concerned about that, don't wear ridiculous jewelry like that, because that's when you're giving a massive target to some bad guy. So hopefully that helps. Any questions on the chat? Now, with the Lady Gaga thing, like, were they trying to ransom the dog to Lady Gaga? Were they after the dog? Or did they just want to kill the dog Walker for some other reason? I think Tampa set up a transaction site for Craigslist type sales. Yeah, Drew. So Florida's got Arms List, which is a national kind of website. And then they've got Florida Gun Trader, which is okay. I find the prices are really high, and you're not dealing with people that really want to buy something. It's mostly people that just want to haggle and try to get a super cheap price. But I've always really struggled to get a fair price to buy something or a fair price to sell something. Okay, so next question comes from Nestor. Nestor says, if robbery is considered a forcible felony in Florida, wouldn't that have protected the guy? So again, we're talking about the same situation with the dude that got his chain stolen. Being forcibly robbed from him, where to shoot the thief. I can understand lawnmower, blah, blah, blah. Gray area. Okay, so Nestor, great question, buddy. Robbery, now, when we look at the Castle Doctrine statute, when it discusses defending personal property, it specifically says that we can use force except deadly force. Now, the only time we're allowed to use deadly force under the Castle Doctrine to protect personal property is if the attacker is also committing a forcible felony. So robbery is listed as a forcible felony, and this is the definition of robbery. It says means the taking of money or other property which may be the subject of larceny from the person or custody of another with intent to either permanently or temporarily deprive the person or the owner of the money or personal property when in the course of taking there is a use of force, violence, assault, or putting in fear. So maybe you could legally use a gun. But like I've said before, it's kind of like just rolling the dice and then hoping that you have the ability to articulate why you shot this person to a judge, a jury, and to the prosecutor. Do you guys remember, this happened down in Miami-Dade probably 4 or 5 years ago. There was a young man, he was like 19, 20 years old. He was burglarizing homes inside of this neighborhood. So he crawled into this woman's house, and she had a revolver. So she shot and killed this guy. It's 100% legal. Now, the family and a bunch of neighbors of the kid that died, they get on TV and they're like, how dare this woman shoot him? It's racist that she shot him. And then the sister of the guy that died actually said this on TV. She said, how else is he supposed to get money to buy clothes? I don't know. Get a job like every other productive person in America. The reason I share that with you is if you ever shoot somebody, you're going to have the opposite side, the family, whatever, or other big groups. They're going to come after you. And what they say doesn't have to be logical. They're going to aggressively attack you and call you a racist, call you a child killer, call you a woman killer, whatever. They're going to bash you. And is it really worth it? For a necklace, a bottle of liquor, your wallet, your cell phone? In my opinion, the answer is no. Just give them the stuff, let them leave, and then move on with your life. It's inconvenient for us, but it's better to have that short-term inconvenience than it is to have years of stress. It is not worth it. Okay, so here's this Lady Gaga thing. They wanted the dogs, 3 Frenchies that might be worth $10,000 each. Okay, interesting. No dog is worth $10,000. I've seen some of these dogs sell for like crazy money, man. I don't know who buys a dog for that much. Like, we used to get dogs when I was a kid, like out of a freaking cardboard box in front of a grocery store for free. But whatever. People are weird. Did you get put at the end of the line when you have to do a fingerprint retake? Do you get put at the end of the line when you have to do a fingerprint retake? I don't think so. The normal line, but when you go to get your fingerprints taken, most people are telling me it's only taken 5 to 10 minutes, so it should be pretty quick. What's up, Tom Cigars? This is why I only adopt the shelter dog, $50. There you go, man. Perfect. That's why I keep my license separate from my wallet. Yeah, and there was a really brilliant, this guy, I don't know if he planned this or what, but he was at a gas station. He wasn't paying attention. He like knelt down into his car, like by the floorboard or whatever. And that allowed a bad guy to come up, put a gun to the back of his head, and demanded his car keys. Now, most people would just hand the car keys over to the bad guy. What this victim did is he threw the car keys on the ground so they bounced and skid behind the bad guy. The bad guy turned around, and that allowed the victim to run inside of the convenience store and lock the door. Now, if you have a concealed carry gun, which you guys all should, that would be a perfect opportunity to toss your wallet, toss your phone, your keys, whatever, and then pull the gun and hold that guy there at gunpoint and demand he drop his gun. Now, I got to be honest here, if that guy orients towards me at all and still has a weapon in his hand, I'm going to smoke him because I can't let them shoot me first. Okay. Boneling says, I'm new to Florida. Can we conceal carry while loading? I just got my permit. I don't know what that means, while loading. So clarify that for me, please. When in Florida, but not a resident yet, what are the laws for non-resident without a concealed carry on carrying a gun in the car? Yeah, great question. So you're allowed to have the firearm in your vehicle as long as it is either securely encased or not readily accessible for immediate use. Securely encased means a gun can be inside of the glove box, center console, snapped in a gun holster, in a gun box, zippered bag, something like that. The rules are the exact same, mind you, for all Florida concealed carry law for a non-resident versus a resident. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so Cobb says, opinions on carrying a protective vest in your personal vehicle. I've done it before, and I think times change. I don't think you need a vest in your car, so plate carrier or something like that, 99% of the time. If I lived in Portland, Oregon, or Seattle, where they were, now you can't have guns in these places, but where they had the severe rioting happening all the time, I would have that stuff in my vehicle. If I lived close to where the riots were happening down here, I would probably have that stuff if I was forced to be in that environment. But again, our goal is to try to avoid those dangerous environments when it's happening. So I don't know if you need it all the time. I think most people should own it because when you do need it, it's too late to go get it. So just keep that in mind. Chris says, does it have to be in a holster in the glove box? So no, it doesn't. The glove box itself is what makes it secured. However, I think we can all agree the primary reason that firearm accidents happen is because the trigger guard is not protected. So I want to be a safe, responsible gun owner. So if I am going to leave, I went to the courthouse the other day and I just took my gun out of my waistband, knew I couldn't bring it in, took the entire holster out. I put that in the center console, and then I went to the courthouse. So I think that's a much better idea than trying to take the gun out of the holster and putting it somewhere, because then you're creating a possibility for an accidental discharge, which we definitely just don't want to happen. All right, so TDJ says, how did that guy that jumped on the concealed carry guy know that he was not an off-duty or plainclothes officer? So what he is referring to is an incident that happened at the Brandon Walmart. This must have been 7, 8, 10 years ago. It was a long time ago. So I'm going to play the video. The victim here is 62 years old. His name is Clarence Daniels. He had the gun in his glove box, and as he parked in Walmart, he took it out of the glove box, put it in his waistband. We don't know what this bad guy saw, but the bad guy saw something and decided to act. So here's the video. So you can see just body slammed Clarence on the ground, gets him in the headlock. Now, this entire time, the bad guy, I'm going to play the video again. The bad guy is screaming, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. So what you don't see here is that 2 other men or 3 other men come running. They pin Clarence to the ground, and then they call 911. Now, shockingly, not a shocker to me, shocker to the bad guy, the guy with the white hair is the one that got arrested. You are not allowed to just tackle people because they have a gun. So TG Day's question is, how do you not know that he's a law enforcement officer? I was at Target in South Tampa one time, and as I'm walking, I could see like somebody is carrying a gun. If their shirt gets stuck on it, I could see the butt of the gun. It was not hidden, but it was like his shirt just accidentally got stuck. Now, as I'm looking at this guy, he looked like he was a military veteran. He was with like a 4-year-old little girl. I don't know how many terrorists bring a 4-year-old little girl with them on their shooting spree. Now, and looking at the man's body language, he was very relaxed. He was calm. He didn't seem upset. He honestly just seemed like he was waiting for his wife, who was shopping in the store, spending a bunch of money. So I just walked by, I kind of slapped the guy on the shoulder, and I said, hey, bro, your pistol showing. And he fixed it, and he's like, all right, thanks, man. And then we both moved on with our day. Now, that would have been a very different situation if the guy was like fidgety, looking around, if he had some of those pre-incident indicators that something bad was about to happen, sweating profusely, fidgety, then I would have taken a very different approach. But some people, again, this video right here shows that there's a lot of people in society that are afraid of gun owners. They're afraid of us. And when they see somebody with a gun, they don't think logically like, hey, this might be a cop. This might be a retired military dude. This might be a permit holder. That's not what they see. CNN has trained America to believe that all gun owners are terrible people. We know that is not the truth. Yeah. Okay, Miguel says, are Smith & Wesson 500 Magnums legal in Florida? Since I live in Fort Myers, to take my pops on his first hunting trip. Oh, that's cool. When I turn 21. Yeah, the Smith & Wesson 500 is an amazing gun. They are definitely legal in Florida. Yeah, pretty much everything is legal in Florida, so don't worry about it. I think that's going to be a lot of fun for your dad. What's up, Scuba? Drew says, check your local hunting regulations. Yeah, I'm not a hunter. So again, Drew probably knows more than me. I guess that makes sense that you would be regulated on what kind of guns you're allowed to have, but it is definitely legal to have for concealed carry to go shooting, but figure out whether you're allowed to actually take it hunting or not. That's a good point, Drew. Tom Cigars, it's amazing that a lot of people are surprised regular citizens can legally carry. Tom, what you would be so, probably not, but what I am shocked by is the diverse crowd of people that come to my concealed carry courses. It is hilarious. So, I mean, I've got like a 85-year-old woman who has never touched a gun before. I have just little grandmas that remind me of my grandma. And then I have young people that are taking the class 2 days before their birthday to turn 21 because they're so excited to do it. It's really everybody. It's white, black, it's Asian. It's everybody. It's every age, every race, every religion, every sexual orientation. It's everybody. So again, that's why I talk about one of the things the anti-gun community tries to do is to cause division, right? They want to make us all feel like we're all separate here, but all people from around the world want to be able to protect themselves and want to feel safe and secure. And it just doesn't matter what all that other bullshit is. Michael says, when will your 2021 book be available? Who the freaking hell knows? You can get the digital copy right now, but the print copy is still like shipping. So there's no update. It totally pisses me off. And we will probably never order from this company again. But I spent $7,000, I think, buying them. It's a lot. So can't really get a refund. I just got to wait now and never do it again. All right. So here's the big question. So Ray says, in Florida, if you are a legal gun owner and in any situation you are in fear of losing your life, you are within the law here in Florida to use deadly force against the threat. Ray, buddy, this is the exact reason that I started my business and started it the way that I did, was to clear up this type of false belief. There's a lot. Cobb has heard me say this. There's a lot of firearms instructors. Most gun instructors in the state of Florida just tell you you're allowed to shoot anybody. If you're in fear for your life, just shoot them. Florida stands your ground. We can do it. It's legal. It is not true. It is not true. So let's look at his question again, or his statement. If you are a legal gun owner and in any situation you are in fear for losing your life, you are within your rights to use or threaten to use deadly force. So let me explain, Ray, why that is 100% false. This is the Florida Justified Use of Force statute. This is a statute that gives us a legal right to use or threaten the use of deadly force in the state of Florida. What I want you guys to really pay attention to is the different requirements that have to be met for this statute to be completed and usable. So number one, a person is justified in using or threatening to use deadly force only if he or she reasonably believes that such conduct is necessary to prevent the imminent commission of, oh, this is the wrong statute. What the hell? Okay, hold on a second. Okay, don't I feel like a dumbass? Okay, so what the statute says is a person can use or threaten the use of deadly force to protect themselves or others if there's a reasonable belief of imminent death, great bodily harm, or to stop the imminent commission of a forcible felony, but only if the victim, which would be you, is in a place where they have a right to be and you are not committing a crime. So here are those statements here. Number one, do you have a reasonable belief of imminent death? So your question says, statement, in any situation. It is not any situation that you have a right to use a gun in Florida. It's when you have a reasonable belief of imminent death. Do you have a reasonable belief of great bodily harm? Great bodily harm doesn't have a statutory definition, but it's similar to cutting off a limb, breaking a bone, causing permanent brain damage, permanent disfigurement, something of that nature. And the Florida courts have deemed it something greater than a bruise. So it has to be something pretty severe. It continues to say, do you have a reasonable belief of an imminent commission of a forcible felony, which is rape, treason, murder, manslaughter, sexual battery, all that kind of stuff. So again, your statement here, in fear for losing your life in any situation. It is not any situation. It has to be very specific. The next question is the use of deadly force necessary? So just imagine somebody comes up and they have got a knife and they are demanding your purse or your wallet. So you give them the wallet or purse. The bad guy turns around and now is running away. Is it necessary for you to stay alive to pull out your gun and shoot that bad guy in the back? The answer is no. And because it is no longer necessary, you, in my opinion, would not have a right to use deadly force any longer. Next requirement is you have to be in a place that you have a right to be. So if you are trespassing or something like that, then you lose your right to use the deadly force under the stand your ground. And the last requirement is, are you engaged in criminal activity? Obviously, if you're slanging crack on the corner and somebody comes up and tries to rob you, you don't have a right to use deadly force under the stand your ground law because you're a drug dealer. So this whole idea that any situation, as long as I'm in fear for my life, I have a right to shoot somebody, it's the reasonable fear of imminent death. Remember, reasonable has to be applied objectively and subjectively, which means not only do you have to believe you're going to die at any second, but a reasonable person who's non-emotional, looking from the outside in, would have to be able to say, you know what? If I was in that situation, I would think I was going to die too. So if that reasonable person agrees with you, then you're probably not going to get convicted. So I hope that answers your question. Let me see. Fact, stand your ground law allows you to protect your family. Sure, a stand your ground law allows me to protect somebody who I don't even know. It could be a mom at a grocery store who I've never met, never even spoken to before. I have just as much legal right to protect that woman as her husband does. And the last thing he says, and your property here in the state of Florida in the exact same way. Again, I'm sorry, Ray, it's totally wrong. We are not allowed to use deadly force to protect property unless the bad guy is also committing a forcible felony while they are taking that property. Big misconceptions, but you've got to just do a lot more research and really make sure you understand this stuff because it's going to suck. Imagine. You guys know the Michael Draka shooting that happened in Clearwater. Michael Draka had the exact same poor mindset as Ray here. And I'm not attacking you, Ray. I want to help you. And I want to make sure you understand this stuff so that you don't end up like Michael Draka. Michael Draka truly believed that he was allowed to shoot Marquise because of the Florida Stand Your Ground law. That's why he was so confident in everything he did. That's why he didn't get an attorney. That's why he gave his statement to the police, because he thought, I was in fear for my life. The Stand Your Ground law is going to protect me. I'll never get prosecuted. That's somebody who got a permit, never really got a deep understanding of any of this stuff, went out there and shot somebody, and then he found out during the trial that his false belief of what Stand Your Ground was extremely wrong, and now Michael Draka has 20 years. Think about that. 20 years to sit in a cage to learn all about Stand Your Ground and break some of those false beliefs. Okay, Tom Cigar says, strangely, when I carry, I tend to think more rationally and de-escalate. When armed, I go off on people pretty quickly. Yeah, the gun should make you realize that if you do something stupid, man, it's very different than punching somebody. If you do something stupid with that gun, they're going to throw the freaking book at you, and it's going to be bad. Draco was a hothead looking for his chance to give justice. Yeah, I truly believe Michael Draka thought he had a right to shoot Marquise. And I think Draka had such a perverse understanding of the stand your ground law. And ultimately, it's the fault of politicians and the media, because politicians and the media, they're always out there saying stand your ground law says you can just shoot people and there are no consequences. That's the narrative that they tell the state of Florida. People from other states, it's really hilarious. This woman came down from New York. She took my concealed carry class and she said, you know, Ryan, in New York, everybody talks about how Florida is just the Wild West. You're allowed to shoot people, no consequences. You can shoot people for any reason. And I was like, okay, so what do you think now? She said, I realize now there's a ton of rules. And she said it actually I used to be scared of Florida's gun policy, but once she understood it, she realized there's actually more rules than she really thought. Yeah, so anyway. Okay, Holt S says, is defensive display an okay thing, or is it just as illegal as, and the same thing as brandishing? In 2014, the Florida Stand Your Ground law was updated to include the word threatening. So now the Stand Your Ground law says to use or threaten the use of deadly force. So what that means is you should not be displaying your gun unless you also have a legal right to shoot and use the gun. So you guys have all heard the term before, never pull your gun unless you're going to use it. I kind of change that a bit to never pull your gun unless you have a legal right to use it. So we are allowed to show our gun, and it is not brandishing, as long as we are stopping or we have an imminent fear of death, great bodily harm, or to stop the imminent commission of a forcible felony. All right. So hopefully I wasn't too rough on that guy, Ray. Got a little heated when I read it. When is it worth shooting someone? Great question. You know, during the Michael Draka trial, the judge, when he was kind of summarizing everything right at the end, he made a very powerful statement, a statement that's going to stick with me forever. The judge said, whenever you're looking at a case like this, any person that's in a situation where they are considering pulling a gun, think to yourself, is my only option to stay alive to pull out my gun and shoot that person? If the answer to that question is yes, your only option is to pull out a gun and shoot, then you need to shoot them. However, if you have other options, like maybe you can pull the gun and point it at the bad guy and make the bad guy stop, then that's a better option. So again, let's talk more about this Michael Draka shooting. Did Michael Draka have a legal right to pull out a gun and point it at Marquise? I think the answer is no, based on Michael Draka's own testimony during his interview with the sheriff, which I have YouTube videos that show all that. So in Michael Draka's own opinion, he did not think he was going to die. He thought he was going to get kicked and get punched. And because of that, you don't have a right to pull out a gun and shoot somebody. But what if Michael Draka would have pulled the gun and pointed it at Marquise? Would that have made Marquise back up and leave Draka alone? I think it would have. Marquise, as soon as he saw the gun, started backing up. He wanted to leave. So would Marquise have been, or would Draka have been arrested for brandishing? Maybe. The punishment of brandishing is way down here. Way down here. It's a misdemeanor. The punishment of killing a dude illegally is 20 years in prison. So I'd rather screw up at this level here and get a misdemeanor probation or whatever than go to prison for 20 years. Which is why I say we want to use as little force as necessary to stop the threat. We don't always want to just go to, I'm just going to kill the guy. I'm just going to shoot the guy, because it's just going to get out of control super quick. Draka could have just got up and run away. I don't know about that, Drew, because Marquise is a very violent person. That's his history. They didn't talk about it during the trial, but Marquise is a very violent person. I think he wanted to beat the crap out of Draka, and if Draka moved, anything would have happened, he would have just beat the crap out of him. But sometimes you just gotta fight. And yeah, Tom says, or just not worry about people parking illegally. You know, one of the issues that I have in my Tampa location, people just open their car windows or car door and they just freaking throw garbage in the parking lot. It pisses me off because I spend 20 minutes picking up the garbage before my students come, and then I watch somebody do that. The older me, when I was at the gun store, I would walk out there and confront that person. I would pick up the garbage and throw it in their window. But all that does is just cause more problems, right? Now, I just wait for the person to leave. I go out there, pick up the garbage, and then I just go throw it in the trash. It bothers me. It pisses me off. But as I'm getting older, I'm realizing we've got to pick our battles here. And do I really want to get in a 30-minute long argument with some random person in a parking lot because they decided to throw garbage on the ground? It's just not worth it. Okay, so Patty says, what is your opinion? How does Florida self-defense laws and gun laws measure up against states with really good 2A defensive laws like Texas or Missouri? Frankly, Patty, I'm working on a new book for the state of Texas. It's going to be called Texas Concealed Carry Law. And I was going through it all today. Frankly, the state of Florida has the best Second Amendment laws in the nation at the moment. Missouri, they just passed their Second Amendment sanctuary thing. I think that's the only spot that they really got us. But as far as using a gun in self-defense, the state of Florida leads the nation. Florida is who created the Stand Your Ground bill. Florida is the very first state and the only state that I'm aware of where the burden of proof in a self-defense shooting is on the state instead of on the shooter, which is groundbreaking. Just imagine if you got arrested, Patty, police come kick in your door, they ransack your house, they bring you to jail, and they go, you, Patty, are a cocaine dealer. You're a cocaine dealer. And you're like, I do not do drugs. I don't sell drugs. I don't know what you're talking about. Then the judge said, okay, Patty, you claim you're not a drug dealer. Prove it. Prove that you're not a drug dealer. How the hell do I do that? So that's the way the old law used to work. The burden of proof was on the shooter. The shooter had to prove that they had a legal right to shoot the bad guy. Now it's up to the state in Florida prove that the victim, the shooter, was not in fear of their life. Prove that the shooter did not have a fear of great bodily harm or a forcible felony. That's also why it's so important that you guys keep your mouth shut. If you ever shoot somebody, keep your mouth shut and get a good attorney, because that's what's going to keep you out of prison. Okay, windshield or license plate. I don't know what that means. Okay, if someone is trespassing, can you have an AR or similar at the low ready, or must it be slung on your back when confronting them? So I had I won't tell you the whole story because I don't have time. One of my students who has a very well-known, very wealthy family here in Tampa was arrested on their property because someone was trespassing. This is like 5,000 acres. Someone was trespassing. He walked out there with a shotgun in his hand and told them to get the F off the property. These individuals called the police, and that young man, the property owner, was arrested for threatening them with a gun. And he said, I never threatened them. I just had it in my hand. But because it was in his hand, ready to use, the police perceived that as a threat. The judge perceived it as a threat, and this guy was convicted. So use a lot of caution. If you're going to have that gun in your hand, those people, whoever it is trespassing, they're going to say whatever they want to the police, and then you've got to prove you're not doing something you shouldn't do. Have a gun, have it on your hip, have it slung across your back, don't touch it with your hands, and even then, they're still probably going to fabricate something, so just use a lot of caution because it's going to get bad really quick. Hey, forgot about the law in this scenario. If you believe gun control... Okay. Forget about the law in this scenario. If you believe gun control is unconstitutional, would you justify defending yourself against police officer enforcing such laws against you? The answer is no. And I think that's tough. I think this is it's a very tough debate, a very tough question. I am not interested in shooting a police officer. Even when the cops are doing something that they shouldn't be doing. And I think the only time that would change is it would have to get really, really bad, right? I think right now, that's not what we got to worry about in America. What we have to worry about is how I've said multiple times, those people in the middle. The extremists on the right, you will never change in their minds. The extremists on the left, you will never change their minds. Those people in the middle, those are the ones that matter. That's why every election, they always talk about who are those middle people? Those are the ones, the swing vote. Those are the ones we got to go after. And we got to make sure. Very disappointed with your answer, sir. Good. Then you're not the right person to follow me, frankly. So just unsubscribe and don't watch my videos. Because if you think it's okay to just shoot a cop, then you are not the kind of person I would want to associate with. Does that make sense? Cobb, yes, we are doing the live tonight right at 8 o'clock. Okay, thoughts on America's oldest civil rights organization, such as the NRA, filing for bankruptcy. Little disappointed to see members' money wasted. Yeah, I think the NRA has been doing a lot of stuff in this last decade, last 5 or so years that I don't agree with. I think that they definitely need new leadership. They need fresh, I think they need younger blood in the leadership of the NRA because they've lost, they say most businesses, most organizations only survive for about 25 years before they start to rapidly decline. And I think the reason that happens at the 25-year mark, so Jeff Bezos had a meeting with Amazon saying, we are approaching the 25-year mark. We need to stay relevant and stay focused on what the customer wants, or we're going to destroy ourselves. We're going to implode because that's the point where everybody falls apart. That's what happened to the NRA. They lost touch with who the normal American gun owner is. They're not aggressive enough. They're not out there filing lawsuits and really doing stuff. So yeah, anyway. Tom Cigar says, I know killing cops is a fun topic like in the 90s, but yeah, not cool to do. Common sense. It's gun owners want to always talk about how we're heading towards a civil war. I've never been to war. I was in the military during the war, but I was never in a combat zone. You're not going to talk to military dudes that want combat and war in America. Nobody would ever want that. They're going to call you a fool to say that we want war in America. It would be horrific. It's just not what we want, dude. We got to find other ways to change people's minds, fight this process legally. And if that doesn't work, then we got to do something else. But we got to really exercise those options first before we start saying stupid shit. And the other thing that's, interesting is just those little comments by George. If George ever shoots somebody in self-defense, do you think the state prosecutor is going to come and find this comment on this live stream? Probably. I bet you that guy makes comments like that all over social media. So now his defense team is saying George is a great person. He's a great family man. He's doing this, and he's just a great, upstanding citizen, right? And then they're going to be like, oh, really? Oh, you are? Okay. So here on this live stream on this date, you're talking about killing cops. So now how is that going to be portrayed with the jury now looking at his self-defense shooting? I'm telling you, they're going to use that stuff against you, which is why all of us have to really be on guard at what we are saying and what we are doing on social media. Because everything you post, every little comment that you make is going to be used against you if, God forbid, you are ever forced to use your gun in self-defense. It's going to be horrific. Now, will I comply if any of these laws pass? I won't. But yeah, maybe burn down a 7-Eleven to celebrate. So that's not rioting, right, Tom Cigars? That's protesting. So anyway, yeah, and it's funny. I do support law enforcement, even though law enforcement pisses me off. But it's funny. Tiffany is the sane person in the family, right? So even though police make me mad, what's the reason that they're making me mad? It's because I was speeding. It's because I ran the red light. So I have to take my own personal responsibility. Yes, it sucks getting a $400 ticket, but it's my fault for speeding, right? So anyway, we got to figure out other. You're misconstruing what I am saying, sir. I am not advocating killing good cops. Okay, I agree. I myself am looking into getting into law enforcement. Good. It would be foolish for me to say such a thing. Good. I agree. And again, what you're saying is defending yourself. Right. But according to the Florida law, we are never allowed to use or threaten the use of deadly force against a law enforcement officer who is in the commission of performing their duties. So it is just not okay to even think that that is a justifiable way. Just think about it. Like, everybody talks about the Capitol breach as, or not everybody, I should say. Some people talk about this Capitol breach as like this big patriotic thing. Look at what the gun control community is, how they're using that Capitol breach to take guns away from Congress people in Congress. Look at how they're using that Capitol breach to show that conservatives, gun owners, whatever, are crazy, unstable terrorists. If you do something crazy, they're going to use that to disarm all of us. That's what they want. They want it because it'll give them all the leverage they need to take our rights away. So anyway, if you guys have any questions for next week, check me out on careyuniversitylive.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our email notification so you know right when we go live. And I got another live in just a few minutes with some of our partners. So I've got to go, but I appreciate you guys. Make sure you have a great night and stay safe.